Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so I wanted to go over the Stop Killing Games initiative, and I also wanted to go over some of the thoughts that I had about the entire thing. I'm going to be going over a number of different things in this video. To get the important stuff out of the way in the beginning, number one, the Stop Killing Games initiative is an initiative that goes over the fact that when you buy games nowadays, there are games that you buy, and they're not like the games that I bought when I was a kid, where I could just load them into my console on my PC and I could play them 25 years later. These are games where they just die. Like they stop working at some point. You buy the game, you paid for it once, you go to use the game, and it doesn't work anymore. And this is something that people are sick and tired of. There's also Ubisoft saying that you should become comfortable with not owning games. I went over this article, and this is, yeah, fuck all of this. Anybody who's watched my channel for any point in time likely understands what side of this I'm on. This initiative is an initiative that tries to come up with a framework so that a game publisher is going to have to create an end-of-life plan so that at the end of the game, when they turn off the servers and everything stops working, you still have a working, functioning game in some way, shape, or form. It may not be as pretty and witty and wise as it was before, but it will be a working game. If you think that this is something that should be at least discussed or considered, here is the link that you should click and sign for if you are in the EU. One something to understand about an initiative is this is not like a bill in the United States where all the politicians vote on the bill and then that immediately becomes a law. This is simply the start of a negotiating process. So if there are parts of this that you think, I'm not really a full fan of this, or I don't think that this should be worded like that, this is kind of like scribbling something on a napkin. This does not mean that what is written here is going to become a law. It simply means that if this gets 1 million signatures, that the people in the EU that actually have the power to make things into laws will look at that napkin rather than discard the napkin. The second thing is, yes, I get it. I sound a little bit like RFK Jr. when I'm sick. You're not the first person to point it out. Just go away. I know. I don't hate vaccines. I just intensely dislike them. Person at the fucking 7-Eleven down the road asked me to do an RFK Jr. impression. Fucking asshole. I just need some more time. I want to figure out what chemicals are making the kids sound so fake and so gay, but I don't know. Perhaps we'll figure it out. Maybe not. I have to drink some water. I can't do an entire video sounding like a fucking meme. There's no way in hell. This is too serious a topic to sound like a meme. That out of the way. I think you're all going to be disappointed in this video because what I think many people want is for me to do some 6-minute video that follows this particular cheerleader template. It's going to be something like, I want you to mention it, say why it's really important, throw Thor Pirate Software under a bus, do not do any more than a surface level analysis into any of the critiques of the initiative, end video, be done. I don't really want to make that video. I honestly don't really want to watch much of Thor Pirate Software's content because it's irrelevant to me. If I'm going to get the software developer side of this, I don't want to listen to him. I would much rather listen to software architects that have more experience creating software than Thor has being alive, because they've been doing it for longer than he's been alive. And one of the great things about the network of people I've built over the years, as well as having a YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers, is if I want to hear somebody that has senior software architect, senior cloud data center, whatever type of experience, I can talk to those people, I can find those people, and I can have real conversations with them. And I've been cultivating these types of relationships over the past several years. And you're going to hear from them. You're also going to hear from people like Ross Scott. I'd love to do a live stream with him where we just go back and forth and answer questions about this initiative and talk about what it is he's trying to accomplish. And I'd also want to talk about some of the stuff that I heard when I was listening to his video, because some of it actually did kind of hit home for me. So the first thing here is, again, why am I not going to include Thor in this conversation? Why am I not even just going to show him on camera or discuss with the things that he said? Is, well, A, he has said that he doesn't want to talk with people in the movement about this. He doesn't want to talk to Ross or anybody else. Okay, well, the thing is, I don't have to talk to you. I can talk to many other software developers that are infinitely more knowledgeable, that have way more experience, that could also provide the information that he may be able to provide, but with much more context without kind of being a dick, right? That's possible. Thor has talked about, this can eat my entire ass, this is all shit, blah, blah, blah. And to be clear, there's actually some reasons I can understand why somebody who's an indie game developer would feel that way. I understand it, and we're going to talk about that in this video. I really want to go into some aspects of Ross's video that stuck out to me. So there's a few here that stuck out to me as somebody who's been in the trenches with the right to repair stuff for many, many years. Here's the first one.
For most of the past year, the initiative has bounced back and forth between being the third and second most popular active initiative in the EU. The only ones that topped it were far more serious social issues. So that says to me, the problem isn't getting gamers to care about games, it's getting people to care about anything. And frankly, that is a checkmate move. If people can't care enough to write their name on a form to protect their rights and stop things they care about from being destroyed, then yeah, I can't do much with that. I am not a Care Bear that can shoot light out of my stomach to make people give a damn. Plus, it's hard to know how many people don't care and how many never knew about the initiative.
Hit home for me because there are so many times where I've talked about the issues that I care about, and rather than people take real action, you just see them insulting each other in the comments. You're an idiot for buying this. You're stupid for buying that. Even if I've created the entire framework for what it is that you need to do, and I've done like 99% of the work for you, simply getting somebody to lift a finger for something that affects their own self-interest is virtually impossible. Getting people to do anything is very difficult, and watching him become blackpilled in this way in real time is shocking for me, because I feel like I'm kind of watching myself of like 5 or 10 years ago start to realize why a lot of the things that are problems in society continue to exist or persist as problems in society, because a lot of people just don't care. He's completely right there.
Now, I have been maybe fairly criticized for not running a fundraiser for this.
I was one of the first people, I think, that was like really hard in his ear saying, yes, raise money for this, start something, start an organization.
There are reasons for that. The first is, until recently, I didn't know where we would spend it. People would say buy ads, but the initiative could be considered political, and YouTube doesn't allow political ads in a lot of EU countries. Another reason is I am one of the worst people to manage that sort of thing. Financial paperwork is an Achilles heel of mine and seems to take me 10 times more effort than anything else.
When you raise money, you can find people who are better at those particular individual things to do those things. It's not about how you're going to do it. It's about who you're going to find to do this thing for you. There are a number of things that I'm very, very bad at, but I can hire somebody else to do those things who are better than me, and then I can focus on the things that I need.
No, I mean having knowledge of all the obscure forms you need to fill out, what all the tax laws that apply are, what all the specialized terminology is, and just all the hidden rules.
A nonprofit attorney will do that for me, and there are nonprofit attorneys that are fairly cheap who cater to the activist type of people that are not ExxonMobil, that are trying to change the world and make something a little bit less shitty. And you can find them. It's just you got to find them. And this is going to become very hard, somewhat critical, but for a reason at a point.
It was a third of our funding then, business crap like that. So the thought of me putting together a fundraiser for what might be considered a political fund that needs to adhere to laws in multiple countries, and if I make a mistake, that could be considered a crime? Oh, no. That's like asking somebody with severe dyslexia to write a book report on war and peace. I am the wrong person for that job. But I've still been trying, to the best of my ability anyway. I didn't discover this until late in the process, that even though general ads were out, sponsored messages were still an option for some countries. And some mysterious benefactors emerged offering to pay them directly.
And I forget exactly what timestamp he said it, because I was listening to this video while I was taking a walk earlier. But one of the things that was one of the most popular comments is taking money with no plan is a grift. That was what he said. And make a plan. Rise to the occasion.
After that, no, I'm done. In fact, I think some people might be surprised just how done I am after July. It's not that I will have changed my mind on game destruction, it's just that there's nothing left after that. So I don't want to waste even more of my life on this. I've paid my dues. My income's dropped significantly since I started this because I haven't had time to make more fun videos which people would rather watch. And I don't blame them one bit. So besides being sick of running this thing, I have to make up for lost time so I can pay rent. Plus, believe it or not, I want time to actually play games and not just fight to keep them all the time.
I don't care, sir. I don't care. And here's the thing. Life is not fair. Nobody else rose to try and do this until you did. And once you did, you became the figurehead of a movement. Whether or not you like it, until that torch is passed on to somebody else, you are the best person to organize. This is before I just get into all the feelings that I have when I listen to this, I want to talk about a project that this kid came up with. He reached out to me with it a few months ago, and it's called LRM, Louis Rossmann Malding. You have LLM, Large Language Model. This was his machine learning project for a honors computer science thing. Louis Rossmann Malding. And the way it works is it takes a snapshot from every single one of my 3,000 plus videos over the past 13 years. It finds the snapshot in that video where I'm looking at the camera at a very specific angle. It then creates a flipbook of them, and then it tries to figure out at which point in time was I balding the fastest. So which period of time over the past 13 years was I losing my hair the fastest? And he actually was able to plot this in a graph. But the point of the matter is I was able to look at his little graph and see at which point was I losing most of my hair. And one of the things that I found interesting about this is you can almost kind of directly plot it with me becoming more serious about the things that I talk about on this channel, with me not just talking about Right to Repair, but then deciding I'm going to travel the country and I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to make it a more serious issue, and I'm going to try and talk to news outlets about this on a regular basis. And I'm going to try to raise money, and this billionaire gave me $1 million, but that's to an organization that I can't lobby from. So let me try to raise $1 million myself for my audience. And oh wait, I'm not allowed to. Oh, if I want to do a ballot initiative, I have to raise it to a ballot committee. Ooh, so I can only use that for traditional lobbying. Okay. Hey, there's a lot of things that occurred over the past 10 years that have literally caused me to lose my hair. I can plot the high losses during periods that I look at in my journal were periods of high stress for me. I did not live my early 30s or my late 20s the way I imagined I would have. And there are some benefits. I have a channel with 2 million subscribers that I could milk ad revenue on if I decided to start putting a bunch of sponsors in my videos instead of having no sponsors and telling my entire fucking audience to use uBlock Origin. I don't do that. But the point is, there's a reason that I do the things that I do. There are many times that I've thought, what the fuck am I doing? I should give up on everything that I'm trying here. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the stress. I'm sick of the aggravation. I'm sick of the reputational harm and damage from people that I thought would be happy that I was helping them. And when I read that email from somebody saying, my mother got a replacement wheelchair with multiple sclerosis in one fucking day when it would have taken 3 to 6 months otherwise, thank you, I learned something. When you have the means, you have the responsibility. You have the means, you have the responsibility. I don't care that you think you're done. I don't care that you've lost income on this and you've had to think about it and you've had to do things that you're bad at. That's a part of life. We are going to continuously improve and grow every single day. That's what we're supposed to do. And taking on a burden of a responsibility that if we do what we're supposed to do properly, will help other people. That's the point of life. It's not always fair. It's not always fun. You gotta fucking do the work, bro. I don't care if you don't. I don't care if you feel like you're done. I don't care if you feel like I'm done. Like, one of my nonprofits is about to run out of money. I am putting my last of it into one final grant, and when that's done, that particular nonprofit, I'm gonna be closing. But that's after 4 fucking years of work and putting in all that effort. That's not after 10 months and I never even did a fundraiser because I have to rise to the occasion. Because somebody else was not doing it. For some reason, the randomness and the entropy of the universe, I got the opportunity to talk about this issue. I got the opportunity to move forward with it. I got the opportunity to be somebody that people trusted providing money to for this, that I was not just going to use it to buy a yacht or a Lamborghini. And if people look through the 990s of my 2 nonprofits, Repair Preservation Group and Repair Preservation Group Action Fund, you'll see that I've paid myself nothing. $0, nothing. But what I did with that money is I was able to hire people. I am not a good lobbyist, but I could hire somebody who's a lobbyist. I'm not a good organizer, but I could hire somebody who's an organizer. I'm not a good planner, but I could hire somebody who's a planner. I'm not good at dealing with all the intricacies of what I'm allowed to do with campaign finance in particular states, but I could hire somebody who's good at that. So instead of being, how do I figure this out? It was, who can I hire who can do that for me? And did I get the Right to Repair passed in the way that I wanted? No. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I did or that I'm some big success that I'm not. But did manage, with the help of everybody here, to move the needle a little bit in a way that I would not have been able to if I didn't pick up the fucking mantle and accept the responsibility and the purpose that was given to me, rather than say, I'm not good at it, or I may not win, or I'm tired. I'm going to say something that you're probably going to be mad at. A lot of my audience is going to be pissed at. You're done. I don't give a fuck that you think that you're done. You're not even close to done. You're just getting started. You have a lot more work to do here until somebody else decides to pick up the mantle. With Right to Repair at this point, I feel like I've pushed it up the mountain as much as it's going to go. I see the ball starting to go down the other side, and there are other people out there that are doing good work in other states that are pushing things forward. So I am okay with relaxing into the role of being a little bit more of a cheerleader at this point than being somebody that's really pushing very hard and in the way that I was before, starting new organizations, hiring people, doing fundraising and all of that. But I needed to do that at the point in time that I did it because I had an opportunity that others didn't. And when you have the means, you have the fucking responsibility. You have the means that many other people do not in this case. You have the attention on you. You have the support of the audience. You have the support of the community. Who the fuck else has that? You have the responsibility to rise to the occasion and become a good fucking organizer. And if you're not able to do that, you have the responsibility and the accountability for the betterment of the community to find somebody who can. If you have an issue with paying your rent, if you have not been making as much money off of your videos, I'm not saying you have to do what I did and not accept money from your nonprofit. Frankly, that was stupid. When I raised $1 million for that nonprofit, I should have paid myself a real fucking salary because it would have made things a little bit less stressed for me. I would have not had to wonder, oh, gee, when my business gets an audit right after I start this fucking nonprofit a few months later, and that audit may cost me over double or triple what it is that's in my bank account plus the entire worth of my company because of an idiot in New York City, maybe I'm not going to be losing hair at the rate that I was. Maybe I wouldn't have been distracted from the movement the way that I was in the way that I was if I knew that that money was there. I screwed up by not paying myself a salary from that nonprofit. I didn't, and I promised that I wasn't going to do it for damn good reason because it was mostly broke people that were in my audience that were donating $1 here, $3 here, and I felt some sort of way about it since I have a business already in a YouTube channel. But the point of the matter is, you should. Look at this audience that you have over here. You have how many people here? 765,000 people just in the European Union, because those are the only people that are going to be able to properly sign this, I believe. I think that you have to be a member of the EU in order to do this. If each one of these people gave you 10 cents, 10 cents. I imagine that this could probably make up for a good portion of the lost revenue on your videos and being able to pay your rent. Your rent seems like a big expense to you. And to most people watching this, your rent likely is the biggest expense that you have in your life. It's probably more than half of your fucking salary. That's the way it is in the United States. I don't know how it is where you are. It's likely like that in a bunch of other places. But your rent is so inconsequential in the story arc of the amount of money that could be available if you simply asked your audience to contribute to a nonprofit. You paying your rent would be the last thing you'd have to worry about. But the thing is, you'd have to do a good job. You'd have to rise to the occasion. You'd have to say, I am not going to accept, I am not good at this. I either will become good at this, or I will find somebody who is good at this, and I will make sure that I will learn how to be a good manager of them. The thing that drives me nuts is listening to this is that there's so much potential that is not there, not just for you to become a better activist, but also for this movement to be further along than it actually is right now. You said that with Pirate Software, you didn't want to get drawn into a drama thing, and you didn't realize until 10 months that the right thing to do was to talk about it, right? It took you 10 months to learn that. You know how long it took me to learn that? 5 years. I started talking about Right to Repair in 2009. I didn't start my channel until 2012. I didn't make a video on ICE raiding small repair shops until 2013, and I didn't do a video on Right to Repair until about 2014. It took me 5 years to realize that I was holding other people to a different standard that they were holding me to. It took you 10 months to figure out the same lesson, that you were holding Pirate Software to a standard that he wasn't holding you to. You're supposed to be prim and proper and professional while this man's telling you to eat his entire ass. Not just eat his ass, eat his entire ass. That's fucked up. He doesn't get to have a moral high ground anymore, talking about how he's the prim and proper professional and you're the schmuck. It took you 10 months to figure that out, but it took me 5 years. You have potential. When you talk about how you have volunteers that ghost you or that leave and you can't have expectations of them because they're volunteers, who created that problem? You can't afford to pay them. Why can't you afford to pay them? Because you haven't accepted people's help. You can't take the money because you don't have a plan. The answer there is not to not take the money. It's to come up with a fucking plan and rise to the occasion and do what it is you have the capability to do. All these people, what do you think they're going to be more pissed off at? If they give you $2 or $5 and you fail, at least you had a chance of 50% of winning, or you don't take their $2 and they had a 1% chance of winning. What if you could have won, but you didn't win because you weren't able to commit the resources to it, because you didn't take on the mantle and responsibility, because you didn't want to ask people for $2? That pisses me off. It really does. And yeah, there's going to be people out there that call you a grifter, a scammer, an asshole, and everything else. You know what? I had the exact same thing. And here's why I don't listen to any of that shit anymore. My nonprofit has paid me nothing. Before that, people said the same thing. People said he does all the stuff for YouTube monetization. My channel wasn't monetized for the first 4 years I was on YouTube, and guess what people were saying back in 2013? Same thing. People are always going to find a reason to bitch at you. They're always going to find a reason to knock you down and shit on you because they don't like what you're saying. That's just the way the world works. They're going to do that anyway. People said that my nonprofit was ripping people off of money before I had one. I was getting those comments in 2019. My nonprofit wasn't registered until 2021. Taking people's money doesn't mean that you have to win, but it does mean that you have to put in everything. And you can't keep saying stuff along the lines of, look at everything we accomplished in spite of. It means you have to start saying, look at what we accomplished. Let's try to do more. It's a different mindset. It's a different way of viewing the world, and you're going to have to take on that way of viewing the world. And maybe you don't want to. I don't care what you want to do. The world doesn't care what you want to do. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a loudspeaker engineer. And here I am working on dead MacBook motherboards and cosplaying as a lobbyist. The world doesn't give a fuck what I want to do. And you and I have something in common, which is we both want to clean up our corner of the world and make it a better place. But that's not going to happen on its own. You're working 8 or 10 hours a day and you're not able to pay your rent. I don't care. I don't care, and the world doesn't care. And your audience doesn't care either. They want to see that corner of the world cleaned up because they know that you're a better fit to do it than anybody else. And they want to help you. They want to give you the resources to be able to do that. Allow them to help you. And because here's the thing, let's say you do get 1 million signatures. Let's say you get 2 million. Let's say you get 10 million signatures. You're not even close to done. Because the way that, I don't know how it works exactly in the EU, but I know in the United States, let's say that they decide, okay, let's create a draft starter bill. They're going to get input from the industry. The industry is going to come by and say, well, here's what we think here, 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 and here. And they're going to ask for your input. There's going to have to be somebody on your side that's willing to go back and forth with them. And they're not going to go through and read all the damn YouTube comments while they're making the law. Or even worse, that's what they'll do. And then the law will be completely butchered and useless. Look at how butchered some of the right to repair laws I've dealt with are, in spite of the fact that we've been involved in the process. You should see the ones where we were not involved in the process. The point is, you're going to have to engage with all those people's points. And you're not going to be able to brush them off by saying that they're just Pirate Software's points or that they're Thor's points. You're not going to be able to go there and say, Thor is an idiot who deep faked or fake deep. How do you say that? Deep fake? Fake deep? Made his voice deep using fake stuff. Deep fake, yeah, fuck. Yeah, like Thor deep faked his voice, so don't listen to him. That's not how this is going to work. You're going to have all these different software engineers and software architects that are going to be testifying against this bill, and you're going to have to come up with good refutations for them. Or when they have a point, you're going to have to listen to their point and say, here's how we're going to address what we're doing. Can you adjust what you're doing in some way as well and come to a compromise? That's going to be a part of the process. You don't get to give up. Even if you get your 20 million signatures by tomorrow, you're still going to have a lot of work to do, which means you're going to have to be involved in the process. And while you're involved in that process, you're not going to be able to say stuff like, well, I may not be able to pay my rent because I didn't have time to make a video on playing the game. No, man. It's not about you being able to play the video game. It's about getting the rest of the world to be able to play their video games. Even if you do get the 1 million signatures you need, even if you get 10 million signatures, you still have a lot of work left to do because you're going to have to respond to all the concerns of the software development industry that is going to be speaking with members of EU in the parliament when they are in the process of coming up with rules or laws regarding what it is you're talking about here. And they do actually have some points. And I know that I'm not supposed to point this out. Like, I know that's nobody ever wants to hear that shit, but I should have learned this lesson in 2019. So a little bit of an aside here. There was this case with a gentleman named Henrik Husby. The story in the news was that he was having his iPhone screens refurbished. Because they were being refurbished, they would still have the Apple logo on them. He got them back with the Apple logo on them after they were refurbished, and he got in trouble with Apple as a result of this. When I got the access to the court documents, I learned that was not the story at all. What was being reported in the news was not true. What was actually going on is he was selling his broken iPhone screens, and no problem with that. And then the person he was selling those broken iPhone screens to was then, I believe that there was a company that was then selling him iPhone screens that had Apple logos on them that were fake. These were fake Apple logos stamped on the parts that were not Apple, like totally different specifications. It's not even like the same factory making it. So Apple actually had a point in being aggravated there. And I made a video going over how I was wrong. I also did several other follow-up videos going over this case. And I also threw the journalist that decided not to release the truth because he didn't like the fact that in this one particular area, a teeny tiny area, Apple was right, under a bus. My audience hated that because I was supposed to be going over this is the good guy, that's the bad guy, it's black and white, basic and simple. And this issue over here is also not black and white. I am definitely on the side of owning what we bought and paid for, but we can't pretend that the software industry doesn't have any actual points here when they're talking about why this could be difficult to implement or why there's people that would not necessarily like it. And I'm going to be going over that in the next video. But more importantly, these are going to be there regardless of whether pirate software exists. If you threw pirate software off a bridge, all of the concerns that the software industry have are still going to be there, and you're still going to have to be able to formulate responses to those, which means that you have to stay in the game. And for you to be able to stay in the game, I realize I wasn't intending to use shitty gaming analogies or puns there. For you to be able to stay in the game, that means that you're going to have to continue to do the work, which means coming up with some sort of organizational structure. You still got a lot of work left to do. Speaking with people that I trust that have helped me with Right to Repair in the past, that are fans of my channel, viewers of my channel, spoken back and forth with them over the past several years, who have been professional software architects longer than pirate software has been alive, there are people that have legitimate problems with the way that this movement is written, because it sounds like they are not taking this from a software architect's point of view, that do like the idea of ownership, don't like that things are sold as something that you buy when it's actually a service, but that also want to hear about it from an honest way. Like going through this FAQ, there are many things that I'm going to be discussing in a stream with that person. And yeah, you wanted me to do a video on it, you're going to listen to the video on it. There are a lot of things in this FAQ that reading through it, if you're a senior software architect, you're going to read through this and go, he doesn't understand our industry. And I want you to hear the other side of it. You're going to hear the other side of it from somebody that I trust, not pirate software. That's going to be in the next video. That's going to be in the next one. Because I honestly, I feel like even remotely trying to have that conversation or bring up those points without somebody who is the one who knows what they're talking about on the phone is really just going to go very, very poorly. So with that, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for being patient with the change of scenery. This is BlackBerry over here. She's an absolute menace. She unplugged my camera, which is why I had to start this video again. I thought I finished this video yesterday, but I was talking to myself because she unplugged everything from my computer. She broke so much stuff in my house when she did that now they have an entire construction crew fixing everything that she broke. Isn't that right, little Barry? Yeah, you broke everything, didn't you, girl?